There's something deeply wrong in this country. Police can routinely beat and murder civilians. Civilians don't feel safe, even at home, from the threats of violence and mass shootings.
Which side are you on? Which side are you on?
We don't have just a lot of prepared thoughts on the latest, police murder of civilians. Tyree Nichols in Memphis. He was a FedEx driver, brutally murdered by the cops. And like I said, I don't have a lot to say about it other than what, we've said before, which is that, police brutality, this kind of stuff is a workers' issue. This kind of stuff doesn't happen to wealthy people, doesn't happen to bosses. This kind of stuff happens to working people, to poor people, to homeless folks, and people on the margins of our society. And so it's in my view incumbent on the workers' movement to be firmly against this and to be for the protection of civilians, the protection of working people against the cops. I do not understand how people can see issue after issue, incident after incident like this, and not come to the conclusion that the institution of policing is deeply, deeply flawed in this country, and that there are that we need to scale it back. I mean, the latest big upsurge in protests against police brutality took place in 2020. And so what was the answer to that? The answer to that was, where there was an answer at all, was increased funding for police. There was occasionally a few more diversity programs. This obviously didn't work because the 5 cops that killed Tyree were black. There were some trainings, and my understanding is that these cops were on a post-2020, quote unquote neighborhood community policing kind of thing, and so that it's obviously not helped in this or in so many other occasions. And people will point, and in this case, actually, this is probably one of the only ones that I've seen, because even in the Ben Darby case here in Huntsville, the police unions have been in support of murderers. But this time they have, the Grand Lodge of the Fraternal Order of Police has seen fit to, cut these people loose. They put out a statement yesterday condemning this, but this is basically the only one. The Fraternal Order of Police is still defending convicted murderer Ben Darby here in Huntsville. And in every instance, almost universally, that's what they do. That's what the leadership of the police departments do. It's what their management does, and it's what their unions do. And so, I mean, we have to take power away from them. It seems to me that's the only way to address the issue. A statement from AFL-CIO President Liz Shuler and AFL-CIO Secretary-Treasurer Fred Redmond, they issued this yesterday. Our hearts break for Tyree Nichols, those who loved him, and a community in pain. In light of his death during a violent encounter at the hands of 5 Memphis police officers during a traffic stop on January 7th. Tyree was a beloved father, son, and friend who was working to build a good life for himself and his family. We joined the call in demanding justice for Tyree and remain dedicated to advancing racial justice throughout our nation.
Yeah, I just want to echo those sentiments. It's disturbing to see police violence time after time after time. In this case, they have all been charged with murder, but as you pointed out, that's typically not the response. And the sad thing is we've had this police violence on top of mass shootings. And we've had, just so many mass shootings already. We're barely 1 month into the new year. And, it's just, I think, symptoms of a profoundly sick society. And that's something that, I hear a lot of folks agree with, frankly, across the political spectrum. Liberals, conservatives, radicals. I think most of us recognize there's something deeply, deeply wrong in this country. In a country where police can routinely beat and murder civilians, and where civilians don't feel safe at work or at recreation or even at home from the threats of violence and mass shootings. And on that note, I wanted to lift up a statement from the United Farm Workers, who experienced the loss of several of their members in one of the multiple mass shootings that just took place in California. And quoting from the UFW, in response to the reported killings of 7 farm workers and the wounding of several more in the Half Moon Bay, California area, the UFW issued the following statement. The mass shooting spree that has left 7 farm workers dead in California leaves us heartbroken, angry, and demanding answers. As we wait for more news, the entire UFW mourns the loss of 7 farm workers. While we did not know them, they were part of the too often invisible, yet always essential agricultural workforce that feeds America and the world. As farm workers and as human beings, they deserve far better. We dream of a nation in which all farm workers, regardless of their ethnicity or national origin, are treated with dignity, in which our streets no longer bear bloodshed after bloodshed, and in which our hearts have a moment to heal in between breaking.
You just saw a clip from the Valley Labor Report. We are live every Saturday morning from 9:30 a.m. till 12:30 p.m. And we pride ourselves on keeping all of our content free to everybody so that we can talk to as many working folks as possible. If you support the work that we're doing, you think that it's important, you think that it's good, then consider making a monthly contribution to the project, and you can do that on our website, tvlr.fm.